We're back. Part two.
Yeah. Hopefully y'all enjoyed the first part. We kind of got into a little bit of our experience with grief. Um, but we just wanted to continue with that conversation. If you didn't listen to the first part, definitely listen to the first part because we just gonna pick up where we left off. And we don't want you to miss any of it. So make sure you go back.
Right.
But
So tell us about Carl.
oh, okay. So my bestie, he was murdered. I don't even like to say like he died, or I say he was murdered because that's exactly how I feel, and that's what it is. I'm like, I hope that don't make people feel uncomfortable, but it is what it is. So this was in 2019, March 12th, and it was crazy because I worked overnight, and I was at work just regular night, and I got off at 6 a.m. I worked overnight. So when I got off work, I got somebody text me, I think, was like, you been on Facebook? And I'm like, no, you know what I'm saying? So I get on there, I'm looking, I'm like, what? First of all, when you get on Facebook and you start seeing people post pictures of people with the sad face, I'm like, all I see is car. I'm like, I know you lying. And he was gone. And I'm totally like confused. Mind you, we're like 30. I think it was like turning 30, or he had just turned 30. I hadn't turned 30 yet. But it's like we're young. Like, first of all, it's like what happened? All these thoughts are running through my mind. Like, I couldn't believe that it actually happened. Like, I had to keep telling myself, like, well, he's really gone. Like y'all sure he gone? Like I had to go to his house. So it was a house fire, but I haven't like had to go down there to see it for myself. I'm like, that is wild. It was really, really crazy. Of course, like I said, it was unexpected, and the uh, COVID, of course, was kind of going on. Maybe like a week later, the world shut down.
Yeah.
So it was just a lot going on at that time. So it was like, unfortunately, well, first of all, they had to what they had to do? They had to do like the autopsy and then um like identify the body. I think using like his teeth or whatever. Because he was all burnt up or whatnot. But it took forever, like forever. Like nothing was going on because of like COVID. So it was just like this is like my favorite person in the world. Like absolute, absolute favorite person. I feel like it's the only person in the whole world like got me. And like it was just like there wasn't even no how was I supposed to get closure? Like we don't even really know what happened. Like, and then because they weren't able to identify the body, it was like there's no death certificate. So it's just like, is he really dead? Like, or honestly, in my mind, it was like maybe he just like planned that and he just like moved to another country. I'm like, that's definitely something he would do. So I was definitely like in denial for quite a while. Quite a while. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes I think about maybe he's really not dead, only because I mean, we didn't have a funeral. It was like a memorial service, but I mean, he's been dead like almost 3 years, 19, 20, close to 3 years, and it hasn't been a funeral. Like that is crazy. That's so unheard of. Like I don't know. It was just a lot. It was just a lot going on, and it was extremely hard. But and then of course, like I said, it was COVID, so all the emotions and things going on with that. And I couldn't be around my friends because everybody had to stay in the house. So it was like, what am I going to do? So I started trying to find different ways to grieve, like online. And I started trying to do things that would remind me of him or make me feel closer. So like for my birthday, so his birthday's in January and mine's May. So for my birthday, like I went and got my nose pierced, because he had his nose pierced, so that made me feel a lot closer to him. We used to both wear like Ray-Ban glasses, so I was due for an eye appointment, so I made sure I got me a new pair of Ray-Bans. Like it was like small things that I did. Like even started when I started crafting. Like I used to have his like our prom picture like right on my little station, and he was mad like, oh, this same one right here, and like he was real fashionable and he was very crafty and things like that. And I think we definitely, shared that. And so when I started crafting, I definitely did that with him in mind. Like I felt closer to him. Like, he's not here. So even with school and things, I'm like, it was certain things that he will never get to do. So I'm like, oh, I gotta do the things that I set out to do, the goals that I have, because he can't do it no more. Like his life is over. So it kind of was motivation in that way. I would definitely just go to his house sometimes and just stand there and just look around and just sit. No, well, not sit, but stand. It just made me feel closer. Um, what else? And just talking about him, I'm like, a lot of times we don't, or people get weird when somebody dies and don't want to mention it. But it's just like, well, I'm gonna talk about him. And my kids know him. Like even now, like they're 5 now, but they definitely know him as Carlo. And they'll always talk about him or point to him and things like that. And for his birthday, this year I was not feeling good with it at all. And then my baby helped me. It was so sweet. I had posted her little video on Instagram. So I guess at this point, it's been quite a while since um he passed. So I don't really think about it every day. I mean, it doesn't really cross my mind too often. Every now and again, I might see something that reminds me of him or something like that, and I'll think about it. But I would say, I guess, depending on the situation, like it should get easier with time if you allow yourself to grieve. Um, I mean, you'll never feel, I don't think, 100%, I guess, better, but it'll just get easier. You'll learn like how to live life with the new normal. So, but yeah, that was that. Mourning without closure is extremely hard.
Yeah. That- I'm like, I'm choked up.
And grief will definitely bring that out of you. I'm like, and I didn't cry here, but those two, my grandma and him, I'm like, those really hit home real bad,
Mm.
extremely bad.
And I'm the opposite. I am a crier. I like the Cheerios commercial.
Mhm.
The little girl poured Cheerios on her dad heart.
Mhm.
Feel better. I thought that is so sweet. Like little things like that just get me to tear up. And usually I would feel, I would feel better after a cry.
Mhm.
But losing my dad, I I'm still a little numb. Um, I don't feel that relief like that you're supposed to feel or that I used to. I know like if I was angry, then I just got it out and it's just like, whew. And I don't, yeah, I don't feel that. It's, I think like all the things that my dad and I went through and that I'm grateful that we got to a place where I was able to forgive and accept him and his condition and the person he was with that condition. Like I had to, that took a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Glad that we got to that place because before his diagnosis, he was my best friend. Like daddy's girl to my soul, to my soul. And he couldn't tell me nothing about Daryl. And so I'm glad that, you know, as I got older, that I was able to forgive and I was able, to accept this, who he has become and how he's been living with, his mental illness. And we got back to a space where we're talking about everything again.
Mm-hmm.
And I would call like if I every day after work I talk to my dad.
Oh, okay.
Like driving home from work and like say if I was having a bad day and I was just writing in silence, he would call me like, well, what's up? Like, we not talking today? What you doing? Like, what's going on? And that I'm still hurt. I It was unexpected. It was 3 weeks after my wedding.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it was crazy. I Before me and my husband got on the road, so we were driving cross country to California from DC, and I was hugging my dad so tight, and I was crying so bad, like because I just felt like, like how you said, I was moving across country, so I couldn't be there for him. He
Mm-hmm.
couldn't, he couldn't come if he was feeling down. He couldn't just come to DC and stay with me for a week,
Mm-hmm.
or you know, it wasn't going to be easy anymore. And so I felt like I was abandoning him. I was abandoning him.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I'm okay. Like, I'm going to be okay. And then he died. It's like, you said you were going to be okay. This is why I didn't want to leave. Like, I struggle with that so bad
Mm-hmm.
still. Um, there wasn't, like I said, it was unexpected. There wasn't any closure. I do remember um, my videographer sent the video.
Mm-hmm.
She compiled everything together and made the video. And so I was sending it out to everybody. And he didn't text me back. And so I was mad. And then I called and I left a voicemail like, excuse me, like I know you got my message. Did you look at the video? Call me back when you get this.
Mm-hmm.
He's gone.
Mm-hmm.
So I am still in it's only been like what, 5 months, 6 months.
I was gonna say it's definitely fresh.
It's still very fresh. Um, he wasn't, I don't know. I'm like, it's kind of hard to say. It's like, um, I try my best because, I've been in therapy. So I know positive coping. I definitely didn't start off positive coping.
Right. No, for real.
I was drinking real bad, real bad. Um, and it just got, and I was like, this isn't helping. But I wanted to be numb because, the pain it was so great. It was overwhelming. Like I felt like I can't handle this. I
Mm-hmm.
can't be I can't function during the day sober knowing my best friend is gone, knowing that I can't talk to him anymore. Um, so, but I stopped that. I did my, I went on a little sabbatical for myself and was like, yeah, you gotta stop. You gotta stop. And I got back into journaling. Um, I, and I think I'm still just, I'm past, like, the state, like, I'm past the anger. I was,
Mm-hmm.
um, I'm not sure what stage of grief I'm at now. It's not linear in either. So if you look up like the stages of grief, it's definitely
All right.
it's not a linear process. I think um, I'm getting more to the point where I am trying to accept my life without him,
Mm-hmm.
and that he's going to miss. I think that's um, I'm like, I'm gonna just say this episode coming out now.
I was
This
like,
episode coming out now, but he's not gonna meet his grandchild.
mm-hmm.
That
Yeah, that's tough.
yeah. So I'm still at the place where I'm trying to accept life without him, and that he's gonna miss these future milestones.
Mm-hmm.
Can't see.
Oh yeah, we definitely keep them close around,
Yeah,
some form or another. It does kind of makes you feel good to, be able to see them. So if you can even find a way, to put something that reminds you of them, even if it's just a picture. Some people I know to get the necklaces. I definitely want to get you one. Or just the pictures around the house or in your car, whatever. Something that reminds you of that person, because it'll be comforting, to kind of see them. Because at some point you'll get to a point to, where you'll smile and you may cry, but whatever it is, just feel it, sit with it.
you gotta feel.
You got to, you got to, because we know we don't want to keep that stress and stuff inside,
Yeah,
because it won't do any good for us. But yeah.
it sucks.
It does. It really, really does. Especially when you think about, like you said, experiences that they're gonna miss.
Yeah.
I remember it was so crazy with Carl around the same time that happened. I was separated from my husband,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm like, I can't even tell him that this is happening. Like,
And it's the person you would call. It's like,
yeah, I'm like, I can't even tell him. Like, I'm leaving him, so he could be like, mm-hmm.
mhm.
You should have did it anyway. Like whatever.
I'm like, Carl, that's I love Carl, but he good for that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Like,
I'm
okay.
not right. He definitely used to keep me on my P's and Q's. He would definitely tell me about myself, which was hilarious. Um, which is so crazy because at my gender reveal, he came and then he was like, well, I hope you have two girls. And I hope they act just like you. And I'm just like, I don't want two girls. I want at least one. So every time my baby start acting like me and her attitude is nasty, I always think about him. I'm like, you jinxed me because she definitely is. Me like all the way. But yeah, that's just crazy.
Yes.
Oh, but yeah, it's definitely stages that my bad. It's definitely stages. Um, go through them all. Definitely seek therapy,
Yeah.
even if you specialize and find someone who does grief therapy, you know, or when you go to counseling, just be upfront and tell them I'm grieving or I need help with grief. Don't sit there and let them dig deep and go through all of the emotions because you go feel like you're not getting what you need.
Mm,
If you know you're still struggling with it, let them know up front, like so and so passed and I'm having a hard time. So that way they can kind of figure out, some ways to help you, like start there.
mhm.
Like, we hope y'all are actually working through grief. And if you're listening to this and someone around you is grieving, like, don't be afraid to ask them about their person that died. Like, or ask them, like, how's it going? Or do you want to talk about that person? I'm like, because you ask me, I'm gonna always talk about Carl. I'm
Mhm.
like, it's not weird. Like some people get real weird when people pass away and they don't want to talk about it. But
Yeah.
it's just don't just act like he didn't exist. Like, let's talk about it. Let's talk about time. Like it's cool. Like even if they start crying, that may be what they need. But it might make them feel better, you know. Just that you even recognize, that that person was so important in their lives. But yeah,
Yeah.
tough.
Well, what about okay? We didn't talk about grief of divorce.
Ugh. Yeah, we did.
The way you just sighed.
Because I'm like, yeah. Okay, so I'm divorced. Finally, it's official. Um, but I don't think a lot of people understand or acknowledge that when you get divorced, there definitely is a grieving process. You kind of go through the same stages of grief, like when it first happens, or y'all separate, whatever the case is, or just knowing that it's about to be over and you for real about it, you the grieving process starts like because your whole life is changing, like your life as you knew it, your daily routine, experiences and things that y'all had together. Um, like it will never be anymore. And I guess the hardest part about that is that person, well, with some people, their spouse passed away. But if your spouse did not pass away, you're grieving someone who was very well still walking around this earth. And you might not even like that person. Y'all might have had like a nasty divorce
Mhm.
or breakup. And you still have to go through um those same stages. You have to grieve what was and get to a point where you can accept that whatever did happen, whatever didn't happen, you know, um, I think the hardest part for me was just kind of thinking about my kids and the fact that unfortunately, this would have to be their new normal.
Mhm.
I really think that was the hardest part for me was just thinking about that and how their lives also changed. So it wasn't just like my life I had to think about, or even my ex-husband, like, his life changed, he has to figure out how to navigate life as a single person or a single parent, and likewise, like everything is different. And
Mhm.
I did read somewhere that they said like divorce is like, um, what did they say? It was like, it's like, they said something about it. It was like, one of the hardest. I guess, situations to grieve, like it's even worse than losing somebody. I'm like, that is crazy. But I could definitely see that.
Um, a separation of your soul.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, especially because when you get married, you're united as one. So it's like you have to rip that apart. You
mm,
know? So it's just like you really have to go through that process and get to a point to where you can accept it, even if it makes you angry. Like for me, I initiated the divorce. I was happy. Like people always say, "I'm so sorry," and I'm like, "Thank you," but I'm like happy because I wanted to get out of that.
mm,
But it was a point to where I had to sit like with the fact that it's done and I have to put my life back together. Honestly, that was the hardest part. It's like I'm angry that I have to put my life back together. Like I have to figure out my life all over again. Like I have to start back at zero,
mm,
and that made me extremely angry, like extremely angry. So it took a little while for some therapy and different activities to try to work through that anger, but mostly I just had to accept it and kind of work through the anger because I was really upset about that. Like I really felt like, this is not fair that I have to start my life over,
mm,
but it comes with it. So, and then of course there's reminders like anniversaries, um, that come up. And then especially if you're co-parenting, that doesn't make it any easier. It just kind of adds fuel to the fire as you're going through that grieving process. So if you're separated, divorced, or considering it, just know that it definitely comes with its own grieving process. And there's no point in trying to deny it or avoid it because it's just gonna make you like Chrissy said before, you're gonna find yourself trying to find other ways to cope so that you can not feel those emotions. So like I see people get divorced, they like granted when I got divorced, I was definitely outside, but not like all the way. But I definitely, just enjoying my life, the things I couldn't do before. But if you always in the club or you are always talking to mad men or now you like on savage mode, like real hard city girl after your divorce, like to me, that's a problem. That to me, it looks as though you are trying to avoid
mm,
this process of grieving what you had and just going out to the club and acting like you don't care and men this and that and like you're like just trying to dog them out now. That's only really making you look crazy and it's prolonging your process because at the end of the day you're still hurting, you're still angry, like you need to sit with that because it's gonna age you. Like I still look young after this divorce, okay? So
stress. It will.
stress you out, like you're trying to avoid it or find different things to kind of fill that void and you're never going to find it. Never going to find it. You're just going to keep replacing it with something else. And all of those things are taking a toll on your body. That, so, my advice is to work through that grief process
Mhm,
so that you can kind of make your way to the other side to where you are really like happy and you feel joy down on the inside. Like that kind of comes when you get to acceptance. So,
mm,
work with that process, whatever that looks like. And it doesn't make you, I guess, weak to grieve that situation. It doesn't really say anything negative about you. It actually says that you're in control of your life and in control of your emotions, and you're doing what you need to do so that way you can be, your very best and continue or to work towards thriving after that or being your best self for your kids. Like You look crazy being out in the club all the time, and all of a sudden, and your kids looking at you like, what is happening? So, or your friends looking at you like, okay. But yeah,
I'm weak. What does that mean? Excuse me.
I was just saying, just
Yeah.
sit with it. Don't don't avoid those feelings.
Now, I just pulled up
What?
I don't know where it went. Okay. I was trying well, oh, okay. My little Bible verse. I'm like, I can't find it. Okay. So there's this quote. I found the quote too. That's why I was looking for the quote too. So just to sum it up, I'm glad we were able to talk about it and just express. And I hope it was helpful to our listeners. You know,
Mm-hmm.
grief is it's not one size fit all. It differs for every person. It does not look the same. And so, seek counseling, rely on your support system. We talked about positive coping, art therapy, journaling, um, you know, exercise, grounding,
Yeah.
healthy things.
Talking about it. Just
Talk,
talking. Just
yes.
spend time with friends.
Um, and no, there is no, the stages of grief is not linear. There is no specific timetable. It's that is grief is an individualistic journey.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to look the same for everyone. And
And
every
that's a big thing, because I know men try to hold it in when they experience grief.
mm,
So make sure you're a safe space for your honeys if they're grieving. Even
absolutely.
if you don't want to talk about it, just sit there until you say something or do something, because they do grieve. But a lot of times they just don't show the emotion or just don't, actually put it out there.
Right.
But it affects males and females. So don't forget that.
And this Bible verse is also from Psalms, Psalm 73 and 26. It says, my flesh and my heart faileth, but God is the strength of my heart and my portion forever. And God always tells us to cast your cares on him because he cares for you.
Mhm.
You know, give him your heavy burdens, and that includes grief. And
Mhm.
grief. So you may feel, I know I feel that the loss of my father is, I still feel this way. It's unbearable. It is unbearable. It's overwhelming. And I'm still feeling like that after 6 months. So I do look to God to give me strength and help me get through, give me strength to get through the day to day. Give me strength to show up in my marriage. Give me strength to show up for my friendships. Give me strength to still provide myself self care, love. Um,
Mhm.
so hope it was beneficial.
Yeah. Just know that you're not alone in this grief process. We just don't talk about it enough. But whatever you're feeling, trust is probably normal. But if it's to the point where you can't function at all, and all you can think about is that person, and you just doing real bad, you need help. I've seen some people who, after someone passed, it's like they lost their mind. Get help. For real, for real. If somebody around you is like, that's all they talk about every day, all day, like, please try to get them some help. Because it can get crazy with grief, for
No shame. No shame.
real. Yeah,
That is, you have, if you're not healing yourself, you're going to hurt others around you. So
that's real.
continue to be your best self, continue to heal out loud. Follow us on Instagram, Healing Uncut Podcast. Make sure you subscribe. YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Healing Uncut Podcast. It's the same across the board. And until next time,
Awesome. Happy healing.
happy